Good morning, everyone. My name is Anne-Marie Band, and this is the Moneyball Morning Report for the Benzinga Pro platform. I know my voice is normally cheerier. I apologize for it being so heavy. There's a lot going on. Let's take a peek at the ES. Ultimately, not the week I wanted us to see, as we had a lot of calls that were sitting up here. So when we talk today at the Midday Moneyball Report, we'll be either adjusting, flattening, or making some additional moves. But here we start with the ES. We've got lower highs and lows that are lower coming into the flattening work. 5761 was a very big number, okay? A lot of people want to pounce on this short. It is what it is. Here is a low volume pocket we should fill. Okay, so I expect a fade today, but because we've been fading pre-market, I expect us to bounce on these floors. Let's take a look. Let's delete all of our Fibonacci's because we can use the other data. Notice yesterday's value area has slipped below, it's below what it was yesterday. That's important to notice. So let's draw. Again, we're always going to do the same thing together. We want to do the 6 p.m. and then we want to do, you can do the midnight if you want to. It's usually inside of that floor in the hourly formation. If it's broken out, we can add it, but we don't need to add it today. And then we have the Europe Open, which is right here. I've not checked the news on, what the storyboard is going across the pond. But there's enough going across here that we need to be concerned about. Sometimes my tinfoil hat comes out and goes, oh, got all the problems in the States. Well, let's just look outside and let's blast some information that way. Yeah. Anne-Marie, it sounds like you don't trust the news. Spot on. Okay, so here we go. Value area high, value area low, very big range, but you can see the traders trying to hold the value area low. I'll do this just in case we recover. Thin volume auction right here. I expect, see the flattening? See the holding of the value area? I expect the bounce, but the trend is quite negative. So I expect the bounce that fails at the POC and then pulls back. If it gives us another high, then we'll be above the hull and we'll be able to move to the north. Okay, stop the video and you can see the levels looking above at 5766 really is a key line that I am staring down at this juncture all the way to 5773. That's been the pretty wide range. Let's go to the NQ. All right, let's go to the dailies. We can see lower highs, lower lows, except for today, hanging on by a thread. POC, the point of control, is all the way down here. The point of control is where the most contracts traded. All right, fairly wide value area high-low, which is what we expect. Remember, my thought with the NQ is that because it's weaker, it has the ability to fall right back into value area low. Let's go to the 1 hour. Remove the fibs. 6 p.m. to 7. Notice the midnight range sitting right inside of the opening range. And then the 4 a.m., Europe it opened smack bang in the middle of that. So very tight consolidation underneath value area low. Listen, either it recovers it and it fills it or it collapses. So this is the zone where we would say, you know what, if it breaks the low at 19,800, we've got ourselves much lower levels ahead. All right, so here is the value area high, value area low. Please also remember that this area changes once the market comes in and it starts establishing new lines. So you can see if it's in the middle of the day and all of a sudden your value area has shifted up or it has shifted down, you know that prices are going to be heading in that general direction of the shift. Okay, that's pretty important for you to think about. What is the breakout zone? Well, we can see right now the opening range high is a short. Okay, now here's the thing. With a flat moving average and a flat VWAP, it should be the short. Let it get there, expand, see if it can touch this area, and then try the short as it collapses through the line. That way you'll know what the risk is, how wide your stop ought to be, and then you can trade it into value area low. That would be a very tight trade, or the baseline of the opening candlestick. All right, what is the low of this candle? 905. Okay, I've got it right. Okay, so today looks to be very messy, but a two-way tape for sure, as we have had in many times, right? I mean, and literally, this fell off a cliff and then started, moving ahead. Excuse me, moving down and then consolidating. All right, let's take a look at the YM. Let me delete these fib sequences. Notice, see how the value area has dropped from yesterday to today? That's also something that you go, oh, all right. That means they're accepting prices lower because it's the value area. Let's take a look at the daily. Lower highs, holding the lows. All right. Now, if it breaks the lows, folks, it's going to collapse right into the top of the daily value area high. That's old resistance, new support. That's very, very likely. We want to watch it, and as price continues, we have to say, okay, is this agreeing with my premise that I am collapsing down into the range? Once it agrees with your premise, you stay in the trade. All right, so here we are. Let's do our 4 a.m. We can see that the midnight candlestick is sitting right in the middle of the mess. 4 a.m., okay, 6 p.m. and then 4 a.m. This looks a little different. Here's the problem. Look at the trend. Very downward. And so if the trend is sharply downward and we're above the hull and above the VWAP, we are going to find a rejection node. Could it be at the top of the 4 a.m. candlestick? It looks like it's lower right now. It looks like it's collapsing under the VWAP. Or could it be all the way up here at 42,471? Hard to say. They are making a floor. And when you're above a VWAP, and that VWAP is down, it's telling us, hey, listen, there's definitely resistance here above, but we know that because of trend. So let it do its thing. And once it collapses, as soon as it loses this zone, folks, it's headed back here. This is a 4 a.m. open from, I don't know, 5-6 days ago, maybe even longer. Okay? But it's keeping us a range. Bounces are sell zones. The bounces could be big. Dips are buy zones. You need to wait for a floor. Let a floor establish and then take the trade into resistance. And then when you see prior resistance or new pockets where you can't raise, you go ahead and take some profit. Right now we're in the midst of this 7 a.m. candlestick formation, and we'll see what happens at 8 o'clock. Let's jump to the SPY. Also, you can see that value area is slipping below us. It slipped a little bit lower. Let's go to the daily. Here we are inside of the value area high. Pretty important, okay? So once we get inside the value area high, the thought process is I go from value area high, from low node to high node, low node to high node, low node to high node, until I get to value area low. Now, does it always work like that? Of course not. Trend is the most important thing. We are underneath a hull, and that hull is starting to slope down. So what that means is the following. Resistance has been established. It's kind of holding the lows. Is the floor being established? I don't know. We'll put a line here. Old resistance, potentially new support, also at a low volume node. All right? And so what we are seeing is a bounce, feels likely, and then another fade. All right? There's a huge wall of worry from yesterday's formation. That's going to be, I think they'll probably try and get to the 50% marker of that one. But let's collapse into the 1 hour. And let's draw our 4 a.m. formation. very tight. Let's also pick up the 8 a.m. formation from yesterday. Well, it doesn't look like it needs to be there, does it? Look at that. Oof. It's all the way up here. So collapsed right through it. Good night, Irene. All right, let's see if we can go backwards and find an 8 a.m. candlestick. Yep, here we go. Here's an 8 a.m. candlestick that's giving us the floor of our current behavior. Right? We normally do the 4 a.m. and the 8 a.m. candlesticks in the SPY and the Qs, but my video normally comes out before that 8 a.m. candlestick is closed. Whoop, we must have gotten some news just a minute ago. Take a look. We are in a downward sloping VWAP under the hull, above the hull in a downward slope. So it tells us resistance is ahead. So if you buy the dip, the floor is going to be important. So the floor is all the way down here at 566. So if you're buying the value area low, your stop, I think it would be safe to have it all the way down here at 565.98. All right. My thought is that the bounces are sell zones because of slope and formation. But once we get above the hull, it tells us an interim floor is being made, and we could trade it long, but only into resistance. So at this time, because I'm still coming into the 4 a.m. candlestick, that is definitely a piece of news. This would be the space where I would go, all right, I would want to have my target up here, right? And as you can see, there's a lot of things right there moving back and forth, super noisy, but obviously some kind of news. That is the thing to take note of, right? Downward slope, if we get printing above the hull, it means that a temporary floor is being made, so you can trade off that edge, but you want to be careful and take profit fairly quickly. As you can see, what's going on with the chart. Value area, low, value area, whoopsie. Value area, low, high, pretty wide. But as you can see, once we get into the value area high, chances are we go from high load to no load, to high node, to low node, to high node. And you can see that forming in the charts. And then down here at value area low. So also something very important that is very routine in market action. Traders are just trying to capitalize off of what usually happens. That's the way you plan. Hey, plan for what usually happens. Okay, now let's get to, and again, you can stop and see what you'd like to see on these levels. A floor near value area is pretty reasonable to assume. Whoopsie. Okay, let's take a look at the Fibonacci here. Value area high and low in the Qs, very tight yesterday, pre-market. Look at how wide it's expanded. It's still holding the same value area high. No longer holding value area low. It's well below us. So let us remove all our fib sequences. Let's go to the daily. Looks a lot like the Qs, doesn't it? I mean the NQs. And then let's go to the hourly. Again, under a hull. If you're under the hull, it means a temporary ceiling has been created. So your bounces could give you a sell zone. Doesn't mean a temporary ceiling can't break. But as long as you're under the hull, that is what it's telling you. The bounces are going to give you a temporary ceiling. Just like if you are above the hull, the floor is going to be showing up as a temporary area of new support. So here we are, underneath the point of control. Isn't that interesting? Well, it's going to be very noisy here, right? Value area high, low. Let's do our 4 a.m. candlestick formations. Look at that. Very tight pocket. Holy smokes. Above the hull, creating a temporary floor. A lot of ceiling action here. I don't know if it's worth trading in this. It's better to just wait for the break below 479 and some change, or get above 481.50. And then that way you can carry it into the low volume nodes. In general, that is very tight. Whew. Where's the midnight candle? 6. Yeah, they don't, I can't pick up the cues on a midnight candle. But the 1600 hour, excuse me, 1800 hour, pretty wide. Let me draw one here. No, I've got it bounded. I've got it bounded. All right, let's draw the new fibs. Right, taking a look at where we're at. Downward flow, we can see it clearly if that breaks, but we do have this upward sloping formation. We have a low and then a higher low. We're trying to stay above the VWAP. If we break out of the value area low, we should move. So you can watch maybe a 5-minute chart that tells us what's going on there, or you set a timer, a price break formation, and then, you know, we're up. Look at how far away we are from the 50. Yeah. We don't normally like that. I did say that several days ago. I said, hey, listen, we don't like being that far away from that number. Just, we don't like it. And sure enough, there it comes, collapsing in. Same sort of thing. A lot of people probably loading in kind of bearish. We'll see what happens. The VWAP area is 484.30. All right, everyone, that's it for me. I'll see you on the platforms.